Mauro, is there a strong interaction then among public administrations, private companies, and citizens? We said before, citizen-centric, citizen needs. We have customer needs, as she said. But when and how then can private sector partnership can be useful, help cities to become more intelligent, smart, whatever?
Yes. Okay. Before to start, let me thanks to the Canada Embassy to invited me in this interesting discussion. So ENEA is a national board for research on energy, environment, and innovation. And normally we running several projects, at least 10 projects for smart city in 10 different cities in Italy. And obviously, normally, when you apply in a city, normally the partnership is composed by research team, local administration, and industry. So normally, we face with this kind of problem. I will start my discussion starting from the last talking of John Young, because when he was speaking about connectivity, I was thinking about which is the value of the connectivity. So I remember that I want to mention Jacques Monod. He said that evolution jumps are connected with the emerging of new media. And he mentioned the language as one of this jump. And language is connectivity. When start connectivity, the dimension is completely different. It's clear for all of us the difference between a number of computers and when these computers are connected and become the network, so the web network, is completely different. So this value is huge value. Let me come back to the city. Try to imagine that the city is a sort of new media. If all things are separated, it's not a media. It's just spot, service, but it's completely different. When you are able to connect all these media, all these things, so you create a new media. And you create a new situation where you can develop a new evolution. Let me make a very simple one example, but there are many. We are working in the field of connection between the city and the smart grids and the grids. So, an example in Italy, in next year, from authority exactly, we will have multi-meterings for smart meters, so water, gas, and electricity. And this is very important things. But if these data are useful only to billing for the people or only to control the grids, so the value is not very high. The other hand, we are developing domotics and neighbors where all the smart homes are connected in one central aggregator, in example, then can give you service for, in example, how to spend less money in your house, how save water and save and so on. And if you are able to put in connection, in a dialogue between the smart home system, domotic system, and the smart metering systems, it's a revolution, because you can have this data, because normally the metering is the cost is high for a house. And you have this data, and it's possible for a citizen give, in example, this data accessible to all the market for app. So you can have a app, in example, to help you in managing of energy, but also help for maintaining of your appliance, or, in example, health. If you don't work on any appliance, it means that probably you could have some problems. If in 3 days you don't have any action in house, probably there is a problem, in example, for aging, and then I can send an information to other things. So there are a lot of possibilities. There is another market that can be open in this case. And imagine that the aggregator know exactly which is the consumption the day after, in example, because they control the consumption of the people. They can send this information to the distribution, and they gain another value. So if we are able to connect all this service, we are able to activate a circular economy inside the community. The problem is not the data. The problem is let to circulate the data. So this is a different model. So this is based on connectivity. And obviously, connecting services, it means also connective utilities. And obviously, this is based on action like public-private partnership. This is very important. This is the center of the smart city. So it's important that public give the commitment for some specification and give the direction. And in example, establish the connection, establish the regulation, in example. And on the other hand, the only possibility to have investment is based on the private, because otherwise it's impossible. And I say that also research field is very important in order to design the service, design the connection of the service. So, and then qualify the service. In example, when you speak about monitoring, it's quite difficult. We have to speak about key performance indicator. It's not so simple, because it's very difficult to understand the difference between 1 year and another year in a building, in example. So this is very important. And, but I would like to add some other, one single aspect. So when we say the PPP, public-private partnership, so we forget that there are another component that is very important. It's the PPP plus C. That means community. A community is not citizen. At the moment, the relation we are thinking is utility and citizen. But this is different. Community is different things. Just I would like to give you an example of a project that we are proposed in, we candidate Roma as a lighthouse city in the last European call with this kind of idea. So the idea is that the community is very active in urban regeneration. Maybe we can stop to speak about urban regeneration and start to speak about community regeneration. This approach is on the middle. It's not completely basic on the urban design, but is more intended in terms of governing the self-organization of a community. In this case, in this project, in example, we make a refurbishment, large-scale refurbishment of houses, and also a fleet of electric public mobility with the electric bus, based on demand mobility on demand. And the basic idea is that the citizen, we help the citizen to create a community company, a cooperative community company. And they are very active in the creation, in the apply of refurbishment program, and the management of the smart service in the community. So we call this approach is a double drive. The first drive is because the value of the neighbor is increasing because the houses are better, are more efficient, and the mobility is more efficient, and also soft mobility is implemented. But the second drive is that the actor of the urban transformation is the citizen itself. So this means that you bring jobs, you bring so a sort of sense of so ownership of your community, of the infrastructure. Infrastructure is not from the city, it's for the community. And so I think that this is a model that we have to considering, and we have to considering that this model is very close to PPP, and probably is another way to see the evolution. And obviously, I hope that it's not easy, because the problem is a new generation of smart city project. Because in order to apply this project, you have to convince people to make a little investment. And this means that you are very, very persuasive in your project. And you have exactly to understand which is the business model, which is the stakeholder involvement, all the stakeholders' involvement, which is the role of the citizen, and then create an organization. This is exactly an example of what I say, governing the self-organization. We create exactly one institution that is collaborative governance of the community, including at the same table the community company, the utilities, and the local administration. So another term that is very interesting to considering is a co-design. Co-design, it means that any decision for that community should be based obviously by the local administration, but is continuously discussed with the people of the community.
Thank you, Mauro. Thank you. Well, a keyword I had before was indicator. Now I have another one, which is governance. From your point of view, is it essential, and how can we both have some better governance of all these actors involved in?
I definitely think governance is very important. I think how you set up your governance and how you use your governance has to be carefully thought through. Otherwise, you can have governance for the sake of governance as opposed to really being focused on what you're trying to govern as well. Even within, for example, within the smart metering program that I was responsible for, we had very strong governance, but not just governance within the entity itself, the utility itself, but governance from the province of British Columbia as well, and governance from the citizens, and allowing the ability to feed into that process and allow the ability to be vocal and to be heard as well.
You?
So we are working to try to give this term a concrete model, and we work with Lewis, that is Faculty of Economy, and we create a structure in the community and a book that gives guidelines for interaction between local administration and the community and the utilities, and then a procedure in order to share the decisions. There is one very interesting point that we can use in order to apply the collaborative governance that is based on, in Italy, this is a general European trend, but in Italy, in the last year, there was a very interesting law. This law gives the possibility to the local administration to give some service to the community association, and they take off money from the taxes. And they can assign service like maintaining of public space, and in example, service for mobility. This is exactly what we are working. So a number of services that the community can apply, and obviously creating job, creating discussion, and under the collaboration with the local administration. Coming back to the indicator, this is absolute. It's very important aspects, because as I said before, we have to speak about key performance indicator. Key performance indicator is very important because is the indicator that I can use to compare my behavior, my performance with the performance and behavior and consumption of the other people of the community, the other people, the other cities, and the other of the country. In this way, we are proposing in Italy one specific instrument, is a national instrument that we call Public Energy Living Lab, that is a center of collection of data and elaborate in real-time data coming from public structures. And we started from the public lighting, because we have a project with 800 municipalities that are in this project. And we measure in real time all these KPIs. And for the moment, we started from lighting, but then is intended to extend to school and offices. And all these data are accessible to all the citizens in form of KPIs. So you can share and compare the performance, in example, of your city with respect to the other cities.